Hi, my name's Elliott Young. I'm from EMC Consulting, the part that specialises in cloud and virtual data centre consulting. In today's session, we looked at one particular aspect of the first part of the journey to the cloud, which is looking at data centre blueprinting. Now, the reason this is important is because it's what I call the crown jewels of the data. And you really need this data to fully understand what's in the environment at the moment and how that can be taken into the cloud solution in the future. You might be thinking about moving to a private cloud solution or a public cloud solution, or in fact a hybrid cloud solution which takes the best of both worlds. But whichever approach it is, there are 4 key factors that you need to understand in order to make the decision of what to move and how to move it. The first thing is to understand what's active in your present environment. And the blueprinting solution actually does that by deploying a monitoring system which doesn't use any agents. It's agentless technology. It means you don't have to install anything on any of the servers being monitored, but you can still get information about what's active on your network in every location. Once you know what's active, you can then say what's the configuration of those individual devices. Obviously, if you've got some very large servers or some very small servers, that's going to be a different approach to how you migrate those services into the cloud. Once you know the size, you can look at the workload. That's the third key aspect. And the workload says how busy are those individual services. Once you understand the workload, you can move into dependencies. And the dependencies say, for example, if I'm looking at a data warehouse, how do I take that data warehouse and everything that it talks to into the cloud? If I'd move the data warehouse service and leave some parts of it behind, that's going to break that service. And these are some of the considerations we need to take into account to move into a cloud type environment. Now, one of the key things about the blueprinting data is that we can then go on to associate a cost or a value of that service once it's running in the cloud. And that means that you now have 2 different approaches to prioritizing your journey into the cloud. First of all, you can look at the technical complexities. And secondly, you can look at the value to your organization of moving particular infrastructure components first. And this is the way that you can maximize return on investment and get benefits as quickly as possible from your future cloud solution. So in today's session, we also talked about another concept, which is the concept of teleportation. And this is the concept of taking a service whilst it's running and move it a long distance to another place of operation, which could be in a private cloud or in a public cloud. The teleportation approach means that you can move services as they're running without transferring the associated data. So let's say, for example, you have a big database system or a big transaction processing system. If that system is attached to 100 gigs of data, you don't want to wait for that to copy across to your private or public cloud solution before you can start to use the service. With the teleportation approach, what you can do is move that running workload to the other service, have cache consistency across multiple sites, have the data remain in one place, and then when you want to move it back into your private cloud solution, the systems can move without having to drag the data around with them. This is a great way to look at elastic computing to grow out your services as and when you need to, and then bring them back in-house when you no longer need that kind of performance. So people have been asking EMC Consulting, how can I get the biggest and quickest benefit from the cloud computing approach? So to take an example of a client we've been working with recently, who's in the financial services industry, we had a look at 900 of their servers and we ran the automated blueprinting service for that environment. And what we found actually is that you look at the usage profile of those servers and how they can be consolidated into a private cloud approach. We found that there was a business case of a saving of $7 million over 2 years just by consolidating those 900 servers. The client used that as the starting point for their journey into the cloud and took the savings that they'd start to accumulate from the beginning of the project to fund further activities into hybrid cloud computing and other further consolidation.